Okay, so guys, we are on the air. Thanks for tuning back with me. My name is Daniel, and if you're watching this channel, you may be interested in personal growth, personal development, coaching, entrepreneurship, business, even spirituality. And so today we have Linda. She is a coach and she works with children. And so we're going to talk a lot about mentorship, children, mentoring children, how to keep their attention span, pretty much, I guess, the developmental aspect of children, whether they're in elementary school or beyond, or in general people. So I'm really interested in these topics because I believe these are some really big issues in the growing educational system that we have in place. And I think that there's a lot to be said about these topics. So without further ado, hey, Linda, you want to talk a little bit about you, and then we can get into these topics?
Sure. I actually started doing coaching a few years ago, and I got myself certified. As time evolved, it turned out that working with children is a very exciting area, and I really feel I have the act to work with them, and I get to get them to basically work with me.
Cool. So can you tell me a little bit about like what you do day to day, maybe with the kids?
What I've been able to do is they. What happens is they come to the center after school, and I work with them to things like things that they learn in school, like math, English, areas that they have trouble with. And what I try to do is get into their head, and I work to um, ask them, what's going on, find out what their moods are, and I try to work with the mood. And sometimes the kids, they happen during the day or in their family, and they're not concentrating in their work. So what I try to do is find that out from them, find out what is going on, and then get them engaged in the things that is important for them for their classes.
I mean, hey, that's a really important area in terms of their future, right? Learning these like kind of routines or rituals that are going to be able to help them kind of self navigate, and get through education, right?
Right.
Up until they can make their own decisions whether they want to go forward or not. So, I mean, what are some? I mean, putting the questions that we're going to get into aside, what are some huge challenges that you see arising when it comes to the parent to child relationship, right? Because realistically, right, like they should be the middleman, right? But you are like the middleman in the sense of connecting the dots in terms of what's really gonna motivate them and stuff. So, what do you see day to day that is kind of being missed, and that you wish that you could kind of more or less focus on?
Mhm. What I seem to notice that is going on is that the children now these days not able to connect with their parents that much because more and more parents are working long hours, so they don't spend the time with the kids as much as it would been great to for them. But and so therefore that's the reason why the children come to the center to be able to have time with someone who could understand what the issues that they're having, and which makes it very fortunate for me because I get to find these things out from them, and I try to work with them in that manner. Like try to see what some of the issues are coming up for them, and where what is stressing them out. And we were talking about young kids that are getting have to, and they feel that sometimes they need to behave when your kids, you should be able to be yourself because you're just beginning to grow right now.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's more of like a nurturing role, if anything. It sounds like, right, that you're really there to not only kind of steer them in the right direction, but like also to help them navigate and circumvent, kind of obstacles or challenges they may have, which is really what we're going to be getting into today, like, keeping their attention and how to listen to what they want, kind of how to navigate their own lifestyle, how to kind of how to make their lives kind of more self-sufficient and kind of like grow them to that kind of place.
Mm-hmm.
So what have you seen to what have you learned to kind of help kids with in terms of helping them with attention?
Could you repeat that last part again?
In terms of attention, right? What have you seen that most works for you?
It's the what's happened is that the kids now they really want to, because they're giving these toys and like on the phone or on computers, they love to play a lot. And so what happens now is their attention is in that spot, and the thing is to try to get them to see that they're not going to learn if they keep on playing. So what I do now is I create a situation for them where I say, okay, we'll do a bargaining system. 10 minutes of your time to do your work, I'll give you 5 minutes to play on what, the games that you have. So this way, they feel that it's more exciting. It's a lot more fun to learn, understand what they're working on, because now they have a reward at the end of whatever they're doing.
No, and that really makes sense. We've kind of grown up in like a reward system kind of way where, there has to be something at the end of the road. And I think this kind of comes with, I guess, how we're raised. Not just on a family cultural level, but
Right.
also a societal level, as we're taught, rewards and what we should chase after and what's favorable, what's not favorable. And so everybody, the reason why, I'll give you an example. The reason why a lot of people are not successful is because they don't want to have fun within the work to get to wherever they want to go. And it's really about putting a value on what you're doing within the moment.
Exactly.
Right. And exercising that appreciation.
Right. Right.
So that's very overlooked, especially in a system like school, where it's really less about the work. It's like, just make sure you get the good grade. And, and that's how the systems are set up.
Right.
And so
Right.
it makes sense.
Exactly.
It makes sense that the parents of these kids are, they're also taking on the same thing. The parents are only modeling off after the systems, right? Where it's, okay, got to get the grade. This is what needs to be done. And this is what the school is originally saying. It's, here's the class, here's the regiment, here's the structure. Now do it, right? But, kids are more dynamic in that. And so do you feel like do you work with more kids that are more the outliers of what doesn't work for the normal student? Do you think your kids are more of like outliers, or do you think they're like pretty much all over the place in terms of what kind of student they are?
I think it's the student they are. There's a lot. I mean, every single one of the kids, they tend to have a certain attention span in what they're doing, and when they see that the award is to their benefit, something that they really want, there's their attention is much longer. They're more they concentrate in what they're doing more, because they're discovering that there's something about what they're learning that is making it good for them. They're not just doing it just because they're told to do it. Now they're doing it because it's itself.
Yeah. So I mean, I can only imagine what that kind of looks like, but I can totally see you, really kind of bring in like self-analysis and self-introspection into this and say like, well, why do you want to even do this? I mean, I know we have to get the homework assignment done, or I know that X, Y, and Z needs to be done, but why would you like to get this done? Is there another reason why and then so you explore, how, not only the level in which they value doing these things, because if the value's not there, they're not going to do it. Right. If they don't care, then they don't care. But, so there's got to be a personalized or spiritual incentive why they'd want to do what they do. And that's everybody.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. Um,
The kids, they love to please too. When you show, you know, how excited you are about the learning, and you give them a little pat on the shoulder and say, "Great job." They're more excited about doing more because the whole goal is that they want you to be happy with them, as well as you they want to be happy themselves. It's a give and take every single time when I'm working with them. It's really great to do this.
and I'm assuming you're seeing pretty great results with that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty rewarding. It's everything's a give and take, and so I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's cool that you're doing what you're doing because you really get to give children and students and anybody for that matter that space to like like get up to where they need to be and release and express or get what they need out
Uh-huh.
of evolving, right?
Right.
Because it's not really because at the end of the day, right, like school is eventually they'll be out of school, so it's not really about what how they resist school, but it's about what they can get from it in their own way,
Uh-huh.
right? Like there's a structure, right, called school, and you're going to learn particular things, but it's really up to you what you remember and what you don't remember,
Right.
how much like energy and effort you put into growing yourself,
Uh-huh.
right? And so there's just so much effort. Like it's so crazy, right? There's so much energy put into just getting the grade versus the personal growth,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Exactly. Exactly. Um, when I work with them, the reward goes both ways because they got something out of what they're doing, as well as what I get out of doing it with them. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So do you want to get into the other two topics?
Excuse
Would
me.
you like to get into the other two topics we have today?
Sure.
So we have how to listen to what the children want.
Mm-hmm. The 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 children, they tend uh, very often they love to hear. They love for you to listen, and the more you become a listener, pay attention to what they're saying and being in the moment with them, the more they really give you the happening inside them. How why is it that they're not paying attention to what you're asking them to do, or that they feel that when you're listening to them, they no longer have to feel like they they have an anxiety or a stress that that just dare to exist, and that you're pushing them aside, they're not being heard. By being there and being present, they really enjoy your time and their own time, and they move, they go through whatever they're doing faster because they see that you're there with them. You're completely connected with them. With them. And to their needs is so important.
Yeah, they really need to not only express, but to, yeah, that's very right. Very true. Um, it's kind of like everything is almost like everything's in their mind and it's being backdated, right? Because,
Right.
they can't talk to their family, they can't talk to their parents, but they can talk to you.
Right.
And so when you create that vulnerable space and they open up to that, that's where everything happens.
Right.
And then
Exactly.
you can start instilling that value and say, hey, well, now that you mentioned this, this is how it sounds like you would actually really want to do this, but in this way or in that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just about, I guess at the end of the day, school is supposed to serve the student, not the school, right?
Right.
And so when anybody feels like that, um, that's where growth comes from, right?
Mm-hmm.
When people feel like their time is being taken advantage of, we time to really just put it off, and we don't want to be there. And so, like, you doing what you're doing in terms of being totally present and in the moment with everybody, and being really creating that space, you know, it gives them value. It's like, okay, cool, here's somebody who's going to help me learn and grow, and they value my presence, right?
Yeah, and they, when they see that I'm doing this with them, they start to learn to do it themselves. They start to uh, sit there and listen more. They no longer feel like they get bored or that they become disruptive and all that, because you're basically letting them know that you're paying attention to them. And that's what they were looking for.
No, and that makes total sense. That makes total. It's literally like once you get their trust and vulnerability, then like they really can just start making such a great kind of like movement forward. And
Right.
but like there's also probably parts of it where, you know, you're also teaching them like skills, right? It's skill building as well.
Right. Right.
You know,
I mean, the sooner they learn it, the sooner they able to do that throughout their life, and things start to become much easier for them, because they're paying attention to um, what is asked of them, or what um, if paying attention to themselves becomes very beneficial.
yeah. No, so that's why I really wanted to get you on this call, because, you know, part of my mission in collaborating is kind of getting into spaces like, you know, we get fed so much data in terms of how we help people, but, you know, the people that we really need to start with are the children. And there's so many, you know, there's so, like, I listen to so many different news. There's people focusing on millennials, people focusing on Generation X. And I'm like, what about the kids? I'm like, why aren't we talking about kids? Why aren't we talking about, you know, what parents and people can do to really kind of engage with what kids need to do, and students? You know, why
Right.
aren't we focus? Why aren't we focusing on the micro level of education, where, you know,
Mm-hmm.
what's driving student behavior to do what they do? You know, but like they already know that. They already know that the system is broken, and so
Right.
like at the end of the day, it's just a room that they don't want to open because they know it's all this clutter. And like here you are saying, well, I don't mind being in there and working with them, you know. But you know what I mean. So and at that point, there needs to be a different kind of shift when it comes to how we kind of, I guess, how we interact with our students. You
Right.
know,
By
so
by by me being there kids, for the children, what it does is takes some of the load off of the teachers as well as off of the parents, because here when the parents don't have the time for their kids because they're working long hours, or that they're not paying attention to them, it's suddenly pushed off to the teachers, and the teachers are not really there responsible for teaching children to behave and to be grown, uh, to listen. The teachers are there to teach you the lessons that is expected of them. So by bringing them to the center, it um, me volunteering to give my time to them, it really helped to grow. You know, both from respecting both the parents and the teachers, as well as learning about themselves, how you could really um, become more of a person when people listen
yeah.
and they're there for you.
What do you think are the next like steps in terms of like your work? Because, you know, obviously we work with kids. You know, what do you think needs to be done either by you or by other professionals?
I that if we could time children and to let them know that they exist because they are people too, and that therefore they're not just to you know, for parents to say, okay, I have children, but also to say that they are people, they should be heard and they should be appreciated, as well as, you know, the parents who brought them into this world should be appreciated. But when they start to learn that they are valuable when they're young, they start to appreciate everything else as they get older, and they appreciate other people because they're appreciating themselves. They're learning um, to live with themselves to start. And that's the thing, is to get them to see that I myself uh, uh, is, am, I am a person, and therefore it makes sense for why people should be able to hear me. And I shouldn't just say, you know, like all these toys and everything, and I just sit in the corner and I just play with myself, and no one will be curious. But by letting them know that people do care and that we do spend the time with them, it makes them grow into more of a person as they learn about themselves. And I think that's very important.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, hopefully, I mean, school will branch out and tackle a lot of these dimensions naturally. Um,
Yeah.
I just think the system in place is it's very it's outdated in the sense it's no longer serving the students in just its basic way in its basic ways. You know, teachers are overworked and they can't put the focus that they truly want to on you know their students and I see that you know my mom's a teacher so I see that a lot you know when she talks to me about these issues you know but meanwhile other countries put all these emphasis on smaller classes and you know there's more of a focus there
Uh-huh. Yeah.
so
Yeah. Absolutely.
um, so anyway um, I think this really all ties in together because between pretty much the very nature of what you do um, kids should feel like I mean to be totally honest they should have more people within the field such as you to be there right to fill in the space not almost like you know like an elite guidance counselor right but not even right like
Right.
be a guidance counselor there should be just you right just you know you have like maybe 10 people within a school like you and or two or three and you're seeing all these kids and you're giving them the time and focus
Mm-hmm.
and they're in and out of classes all the time and they're talking about how they're personally growing and you can help them with that and obviously you want to give them more than just 5 or 10 minutes you know
Mm-hmm.
you want to work with them with half an hour
Right. Right.
um, so it's really about you know giving them the attention they need it's really about teaching them how to tap into like their passion or their purpose and then to kind of like be within the moment of school and be like hey you know, like this is where you are, and it could be better, obviously, because they have a certain way of seeing things, but really focus on their mindsets of their day to day and kind of their relationship with school and their
Right.
relationship with personal growth,
Right.
and kind of help them navigate that.
And that's so true, because if you could start with working with them when they're in the early school years, in their early age, start to learn that whatever they want, they know how to do it. But if they're by the time some of us get to high school and we're supposed to decide whether we're going to continue on to college, that we really didn't have the all the support, you know, our parents, friends, teachers, and all that. What happened? All we could think about when we're in high school and saying, "Okay, I want to go to college, so I could earn a lot of money." Well, if money was not an issue, what else would you want to go to college for? You know, like what is it that you really have a passion for to go into um, to go into the world and you want to put out there? And a lot of people have that trouble. They don't know how to tap into that part. what they're doing is they're tapping
Oh
into.
yeah, and they're too busy. They're too busy letting people telling them how to run the wheel, and then so they're on this mouse wheel or this the hamster wheel, and
Right.
they don't have the time to invest in these things because they're so wound up with what needs to be done with what everybody else is telling them. When you could
Right.
just stop and do that.
Right.
But like if it's not instilled at a very young age, then people see less value of that. People don't want to think about it because it's so unnatural. It becomes unnatural. It doesn't become
Right.
a natural process. And so
Right.
when you ask people, you ask anybody who is in that place of not valuing it, like oh, what's your purpose? They just it just totally catches them off guard because they don't think about that all the time.
Right.
Like I think in things in terms of moment to moment. There's data that we repeatedly want to think about, and that becomes ingrained within our mind. And so, for example, right now I'm ingrained. Right now my mind's all about business. It's about growing my business, about personal growth. My mind has been about personal growth for about 5 to 6 years now. Ever since I would say 7 to 8 years now, respectively. Um, and I've hardwired myself to wake up at 4:30. I've hardwired myself to when I don't feel something at my core to then question myself and then step off the gerbil wheel or the hamster wheel and then figure that out accordingly, right? Because if there's something wrong with the ship, it needs to be attended to, not just thrown to the back room in hopes that someday it'll be figured out. Right? And that you play an important role in the diagnosis and kind of not the diagnosis stage, but like the parts of life of people's lives that are still young and they're so malleable. They're still in an innovative phase, and so like that's what's so interesting to me is that there's no kid out there that can't change their hardwiring.
Yeah.
As long as you make that positive impact, you can make a real big difference.
Very true. Very true.
So, in terms, and I kind of explored that, like, I think I just answered that question, though, how to help kids and students and anybody enjoy what they do. It's kind of really about making it, a repetitive process and ritual. It's really about valuing, and exploring, like, and it's really saying to yourself, it's okay that I don't know what I want to do now, or it's okay that I'm in this, I'm resistant towards school. At least I know that now consciously, and now I have to kind of like just kind of go with the motions of kind of having a better relationship with school, a better relationship with myself and what I want for myself, right?
Exactly.
And it's really it's also kind of about tolerating the system and saying, and this is coming from a space where this is exactly where I was when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was like, I hate school. It doesn't serve people, whatever. But I came into a space where I was even like,
the whole idea. I agree because I think we're kind of stepping over each other.
you can go. You can finish your thoughts.
Okay, what was that last thing that you just said?
I said you can finish your thought if you want.
I was gonna say that when we're helping a lot more, now they understand why they're going through this instead of, oh, my parent just told me I have to do this, or the school said I have to do this. It's no longer just have to, but it's more again, you have a choice. It's choosing to was valuable to you. Are we still here?
Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit. I don't know if it's from the connection or something. Um, I would love to continue this conversation, but the internet is just not there. So how about we end the call for now? We'll pick up in the next session, and we'll talk about this, and we'll get into all the other topics that we have to get into together. So, but what I will do, I'll wrap this up and say, guys, if you held on for this long, I hope you guys really liked the conversation that we had, and stay tuned for next week's um, call, where we'll get into other topics. We'll get into, multicultural relationships, and that's going to be really fun. That's going to be really cool. So again, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Okay, guys.
Okay, sounds great.